the current situation, if you notice, a couple of African countries keep joining and joining and joining. People are tired. The youth all around the world tired of the the hypocrisy and the injustice, the robbery and exploitation of Africa, and the African people. I can say black people all around the world. So now we got a couple of countries around Africa joining, fighting terrorism and teaching their people the values and their values, the culture, the customs, their wealth, and what needs to be done. And another thank you to Vladimir Putin for help. Chinese president. People will say, "Oh, you don't know their intentions and what they're gonna do after they get these other people out. They're the same and da da da." But you rather deal with what's better for you than what's worse. You can get to the best later on, but you rather deal. It's best you deal with what's better for you than what's worst. So I rather deal with what's better than I can get to best later on. So for now, we got China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. No, not Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and a couple of other countries supporting the African nations or the African kings who stood up and took power in their hands against the puppets presidents. I'll name them again: Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Gabon, and it will expand. And now we got a lot of African leaders afraid because they're trying to get these military rule out of power because they are afraid of losing their positions to other young youth in their country as well. So we got Nigeria, we got the Ivory Coast, two major enemies of the unification of Africa right now. I would say Nigerians need to stand up against their president. If he ever tried or gave an order to go into any one of these countries to interfere with their civil rights and their freedom in order to turn these countries back over to the puppet rule of France, So Nigeria and Ivory Coast need to stay out of the way. If they're not helping these youth to push forward, they should stay out of the way. And there's few things that I will implement also. I used to fly with Air France. I'm not flying with Air France no more. One person, you think it could not change something, but it could. And most African youth need to quit flying with Air France. Find other airlines. We got Ethiopian Airlines. We got Brussels and other airlines we could use. So we need to boycott Air France. Black people need to stop going to France for vacations until their policy change towards Africa or Haiti or other black nations. People need to stay away from France, period. Don't purchase nothing out of France. Everything they get out of there come from Africa, and they process it and send it right back to Africa and sell it. Triple, quadruple the price. So for me personally, no more Air France. I say no to Air France. Anyway, so we got Nigeria right now with one of the most difficult problems in their country, actually. Poor, suffering youth, living underwater, slumps, hungry people. Majority of the people not rich. I'm not trying to discredit or badmouth any country in Africa, but we need to take care of our problem. We got Boko Haram, sponsored by me. I'm thinking the West, to terrorize the Nigerian people. Nigeria need to fight that, and Nigeria could fight that with the help of Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali. When all these countries join, there will be no terrorists. For example, Libya. Gaddafi got killed. After Gaddafi got killed, Libya economy went down the drain. Libya crashed, went back to prehistoric time. Now Libya owe a lot of debt, money, to the West. Libya owed nothing before, during the rule of Gaddafi. And most people not looking at it that way. They're talking about democracy. Democracy is not the same in Africa. The American democracy and the West, democracy in the West is not the same in Africa. It's different, completely different. Look at China today. China is one of the world's greatest nations. There's no democracy. Russia is one of the world's greatest nations today. And they're not going out there exploiting people. They're paying for things. So if you think about it, these people have built Europe and America and most of these countries on the backs of slaves, slave trade, natural resources exploitation, abusing our women, misusing our kids, and we still look up to them as saviors of the African continent. Gaddafi got killed, and that disintegrated the Libyan way of life in their economy. And look at Saddam. The same thing with Saddam. Saddam got killed. That destroyed the peace in the Middle East. Think about it. Saddam alive, terrorist, was very low, right? After Saddam got killed, what happened? Every terrorist you think about in the Middle East came up. So, why are we getting rid of these leaders who keeping people in check, if you want to think about it? Because when there is no rules and regulations in the country, anybody could do anything, and people can get out with your wealth, natural resources, and all that. There's no rule. So these military governments in Africa are putting things in place. We need military governments in Africa. We need a strong rulers, strong leaders to lead and get rid of these puppets presidents. I think it needs to go all over Africa. Coup d'etat is not the way, but if these people are sitting on the neck of free people, I think the military need to step in. Because think about it, the military is powerful in Africa. If the president is powerful with the military, without the military, he's nothing. So the country is powerful with the military. Without the military in Africa, it's nothing. So think about it. If you got a man in the military that's strong enough to give orders and control his country, there's no president. He's out. That's why I tell people, the young people need to join the military in Africa. Every young person needs to join the military in Africa. Then you can take a stand. Get strong, strengthen yourself, and take over. Just like the president of Burkina Faso, the youngest president ever, 23 years old. Sending his country in a way where no man understand and believe, or just another a Thomas Sankara living in our days. I knew there will be another one. And hopefully he lasts a very long time. So we have these neighboring countries joined together: Algeria, Niger, Mali, Guinea, and hopefully all the other little African countries around would join forces with them and stand against ECOWAS. Because ECOWAS is BS. ECOWAS is it's a puppet. It's another puppet organization. ECOWAS is not helping the West African people in any way. We still got borders closed, and we still got people entering from other countries within West Africa that's so limited and marginalized in a way that you wouldn't believe it, exploiting the people from going across the borders. I went through a couple of borders when I was in Africa. I went from Sierra Leone to Liberia. Good people. Still, they took some money, from people. From Ivory Coast to Liberia, Liberia to Ivory Coast. And I try to go through different countries just to see what our people are going through. And when I cross from Indiana to Ohio, there's no bridge. There's no, there's no, checkpoints where we're going to get checked and, we're going to ask you what you're doing here and da. People are free to travel back and forth. That's what we need Africa to be right now. That's what we need West Africa to be, actually. So there's going to be, right now, the terrorists going to run out because Guinea, Mali, Niger, more like one country now. Algeria going to get in and protect their border. Niger going to protect their borders. Burkina Faso protect their border. Guinea protect their border. That's from the top of the West African map all the way down to the ocean. Straight across. Every other country around there needs to join forces. That's the only way we can beat these people that trying to marginalize Africa and exploit Africa. So, every youth in Africa need to join the military or ROTC or some program. Some programs need to be implemented in the school system where people going to train to serve in the army, in the military. Because that's why America cannot get invaded, because everybody in this country own a gun. Majority of the people, even if not everybody know how to use a gun. So nobody afraid of a gun. You will not invade a country with all those people knowing about weapons and know how to use it. Africans need to open their eyes. Another thing that's going on right now, like I said, every African needs to boycott Air France, because we are making these people millionaires in order to use us and misuse us and fight us. Until they change their policy, until their dialogue with the African nations, we need to stop dealing with France. French Africa need to stop. Cut all that off. West Africa need to have their own monies, or each country needs to have their own money, and stop using the French France. It was almost almost eliminated one time, but the president of the Ivory Coast put a stop to it. That's another person people need to stand up to. If you notice, this is third term. These people are doing things that ECOWAS is not saying anything about. And guess what? Now you're trying to talk about what's going on in Mali, Niger, and Guinea, and Burkina Faso. How can you talk in these things when it is part of the Constitution? These people are not wrong. If you do a coup and the coup fails, that is trouble. But if you do a coup and it works, It's legal. So Africans need to start thinking more. Africans need to get into more military, uh, more military science and things of that nature. We need to teach that. We need to teach self-defense. We need to teach our youth how to fight, how to stand up, how to be patriotic people, and how to stand up for something. We need to teach our people to respect, and know their values. Money is not everything. We do need money, but money is not everything. Don't sell your birthright for money, because that's how they infiltrate, and that's how they put a knife on the things that hold us together. That's how they separate us, with money. And money is the money we got today is nothing, because it's paper that was printed in Europe and given to you as money. So these people can control your economy if they are printing your money. You see what I'm saying? I'm not flying with Air France no more. If it costs for me to walk, get on the train, a ship, or whatever, but I'm not going to fly with Air France no more. If it costs me to go to China before I fly to Africa, I will do that. I'm not flying with Air France no more. Until their policies change towards the African nations, I'm not going to fly with Air France no more. And I don't want anything from France, to be honest with you. You know how many times America built France out? Come on, man. Talking about they're going to go to war in Africa, and they're not going to do that. They're scared. France is one of the most scary army ever. So hopefully, imagine if Russia cut off Europe, supplying Europe, right? And then they can't get the gas, the pipe coming from Africa. What happens? Europe economy and people of Europe would suffer and go down the drain. That's why they're fighting so much to get rid of these presidents that's standing together to form one group, or one same people, one African nation, actually. In a way, as in the way we got America, states and governors, and that's what it's going to end up being. Gaddafi didn't die for nothing. Thomas Sankara didn't die for nothing. All these great rulers in Africa, Kwame Nkrumah, it's just another one happening again. It's just happening again. And this time, it seems more tough and more deep. Most of these guys are militants and military people. I talked to a guy, an African guy. He was talking about going into Africa to join the army. He was in America. He was going back home to join the army and serve in his country. And I'm doing the same. And every other African should do the same. You get paid little or nothing in the West. And don't get all the good treatments that the other people are going to get. You go to your home, you're going to get respected. You're going to get respected because you stood up and fought for freedom and your rights. We fought for freedom in America. World War II, African nations stood up and helped America fight their war. Helped France fight their war. Fought against the Germans. Conquered the German army. And got paid back nothing but enslaving our people. Still. People came from Vietnam and other countries and came back to slavery in America. Think about it. There's nothing good in the West for no black man. Be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and preach hate, but it's just a fact. And like I said, I was going to implement some maps, but I'll do that in another video. So, Africans and black people need to stand up. We got white Africans, but we got more black Africans. So, black people need to stand up. You don't have to be from Burkina Faso. You don't have to be from Mali. You don't have to be from Niger. But any one of these countries get attacked, they need militaries. They need militant. They need soldiers. If you got nothing going on in your life in Africa right now, join the military. Boycott Air France.